You know that feeling when you buy something you can't afford? And for about 30 seconds, everything feels okay? Not good, not great, just okay. And then the charges hit your card, and the okay is gone, replaced by this low, familiar dread. And then maybe a week later, you do it again. If that sounds familiar, you're not broken. You're not uniquely weak or stupid with money. You are running a loop that has been designed to be almost impossible to stop. This is the psychology of debt, and it has almost nothing to do with math. Here's what most financial advice gets completely wrong. It treats overspending as an information problem. Like the reason people are in debt is because they don't know that spending more than you earn is bad. Just show them the numbers. Make a budget. Problem solved. But you already know the numbers. Everyone does. The average American carries over $6,000 in credit card debt. Not because they forgot to do math, because debt isn't a math problem. It's a psychology problem. And until you understand what's actually driving it, no budget spreadsheet is going to help you. Let's start with dopamine, because everything starts with dopamine. Dopamine is not the pleasure chemical. That's the common misunderstanding. Dopamine is the anticipation chemical. It fires when your brain predicts a reward is coming, not when the reward actually arrives. Think about the last time you added something to your cart online, before you bought it, just sitting there in your cart. There's a little buzz to that, right? That's dopamine. Your brain lighting up in anticipation. The moment you click buy, dopamine starts dropping. And by the time the thing arrives, your brain barely registers it because the reward already happened when you first imagined owning it in your mind. This is why no purchase ever quite satisfies. The satisfaction lives in the wanting, not the having. And because the having always disappoints, you go back to the wanting. The loop runs itself. Retailers know this better than you know yourself. The cart, the saved items, the wish list, the one-click checkout, all of it designed to keep you in the anticipation phase as long as possible. Then make the actual purchase frictionless, enough that you do it before the feeling fades. You're not clicking buy. You're chasing the last few seconds of a high that's already wearing off. Here's the part people don't want to admit. Most impulse spending is not about the thing being purchased. It's about the emotional state being managed. Psychologists call this emotional spending, and it shows up in patterns that are almost too predictable once you know them. Bored, you browse. Stressed at work, you buy something. Fight with a partner, you treat yourself. Anxious about the future, you shop. Feel out of control? Nothing restores a sense of agency faster than clicking buy on something, even something small, even something stupid. Because in that moment, you made a decision. You chose something. In a world that often feels like it's happening to you, spending is one of the few places where you're the one doing the thing. The problem is that the thing doesn't fit the feeling. Stress doesn't care that you bought new shoes. Anxiety doesn't go away because you order something at midnight. The emotion comes back, usually within hours, often stronger than before. And now you have both the feeling and the credit card bill. So what do? You manage the new stress of the debt the same way you manage the original stress. You spend again. This is the cycle that keeps people broke for decades. Not a failure of willpower, a failure of emotional infrastructure. Spending becomes the coping mechanism because nothing else was ever put in its place. Once you've overspent, you feel guilty. That guilt creates shame. Shame is uncomfortable. And when humans are uncomfortable, we already know what happens. The guilt from overspending can actually trigger more overspending. This is a documented psychological pattern called the what the hell effect. First studied in dieting research, found everywhere since. The logic goes, I already blew it. I already failed. What is the point of stopping now? It's the same reason someone on a diet eats the whole cake after one slice. The perceived failure of one transgression collapses the entire framework, and the brain abandons restraint entirely. So you overspend, feel guilty, feel shame. Shame triggers more spending triggers more guilt. And through all of it, you never look at your bank account because looking will make the reality undeniable. And that is the one thing your brain is working hardest to avoid. Not checking your balance isn't carelessness, it's self-protection. When you don't look, the debt exists, but it doesn't feel fully real. It lives in this vague, fuzzy place where it can't quite reach you. The moment you open the app and see the number, it becomes concrete, undeniable. And the emotional weight of that number, the judgment of every past decision staring back at you, is more than most people want to absorb on a Tuesday morning. So they don't look, and not looking becomes a habit, and the habit becomes a wall between them and any possible change. Debt that you're not looking at is still growing. The interest doesn't care about your feelings. The minimum payments keep arriving, and every month you don't look, the gap between where you are and where you need to be gets a little wider. If you've ever tried to just stop spending and it didn't work, I want to tell you something important. That approach failed because it was aimed at the wrong problem. Telling someone with emotional spending habits to just stop is like telling someone with anxiety to just relax. Technically correct, completely useless. Willpower depletes. It runs dry across the day. And the urge to spend doesn't arrive during your best, clearest moments. It arrives at 11 at night when you're tired and stressed and bored, and that one thing has been sitting in your cart for a week. The actual fix has to happen at the loop level, not spending, but what is the spending doing for me? And what else could do that instead? If spending is managing boredom, what else manages boredom? If spending is restoring control, what else restores that feeling? If spending is numbing stress, what stress is actually going unaddressed? These are not financial questions, they're psychological ones. And until they get answered, the loop keeps running. A few things genuinely break the loop. None of them are what financial influencers usually tell you. The first is friction. The single most effective change a compulsive spender can make is adding steps between themselves and the purchase. Delete saved payment methods. Remove the card from autofill. Give yourself a 48-hour waiting period on anything over a certain amount. The dopamine spike is time sensitive. If you can outlast the anticipation, usually 15 to 30 minutes, the urge drops significantly on its own. You don't need willpower. You need a waiting period. The second is naming. When the urge to spend arrives, stop and name the emotion underneath it. Angry, bored, anxious, lonely. Research in emotion regulation shows that labeling a feeling reduces its intensity. It moves the sensation from your body, where it's automatic and hard to interrupt, to a thought, where you have some relationship to it. It sounds too simple. It works anyway. The third is looking. Actually opening the app, seeing the number, not to punish yourself, just to make it real. Avoidance keeps the debt in the vague, protected place where it grows undisturbed. Looking at it forces a conversation with reality, and reality is almost always easier to handle than the version you've been dreading. Debt isn't proof that you're bad with money. It's proof that you're human. You're running on a brain built for immediate gratification. You're raised in a culture that treats spending as therapy, as identity, as reward, as comfort. You are being marketed to by companies that have spent billions of dollars understanding your psychology better than you understand it yourself. And nobody taught you any of this, not in school, not at home. The guilt you carry about your spending isn't a fair assessment of your character. It is a symptom of a system that profits from keeping you in the loop. Understanding the loop is the first step out of it. And the smallest, least glamorous, most important first step is just to look. Open the app. See the number. Let it be real. You can't change what you're pretending isn't there.